No,
we're
saying
I'm
that's
leaving that for Paul. All right.
What's your second favorite move?
You know, I don't know that I have a second favorite. There's one I've thought about a lot, which is the Mavericks move with Klay Thompson.
I wondered if we were going to talk about it. I mean,
because
the Western Conference champs, they just added a 4-time champion.
Right.
At a position that they were weak at.
Here's the thing. It really depends on what kind of Klay Thompson they get. Because if they get the Klay Thompson in the last 2 years, I don't think they're ever going to get prime Klay Thompson. But we get a Klay Thompson. If we can get a Klay Thompson that can hit his shots consistently in the playoffs, and not a ton of shots, we're talking about 3 or 4 makes in the 3-point line per game, he elevates this team. Just the fact that Luka now has a real threat. Not that they didn't have threats before, but this is
they didn't. No, they didn't. That was our biggest. That was at least for me, my biggest analysis of their finals was that, Paul thought that those guys were gonna make shots because they had some decent playoff games, and I said, no, sir. In the finals with those lights on, There's no one out there around Kyrie and Luka that I fear. Like if I'm coaching, I'm living with every player that they could put in at the wing on their entire roster. I'm living with them taking those shots. And the Boston Celtics did live with it, and they won because those guys never made shots. They never did.
And that problem immediately goes away with Klay Thompson. If he's playing, I mean, I saw him go 0 for 10 last year. So that's what I'm saying. It depends on what kind of Klay Thompson we're getting. If we're getting a humbled Klay Thompson where he's like, listen, I'm just taking my shots. I get them past my prime. Let me help you, Luka. This team is immediately incredibly dangerous.
Can I ask you a question, though?
Sure.
Does he even have to? I mean, I know this is going to sound stupid, but does he even have to make a high volume of shots? That's what I'm about to say.
No. That's what I said.
Let me land the question. Does the Klay Thompson name still carry the gravity that it once did? So far that it's not even that Klay's replacing those guys, and so those shots that were getting missed are getting made. But do you have to change if you're a team playing the Mavericks? Do you change your coverage? Do you not play so much on boxes and elbows around Kyrie and Luka? Because just the fact that is Klay over there. If you play the pure percentages of last year, if you're a bold coach, I think the Celtics, I think Joe Mazzulla is bold enough. I think they might leave Klay. I think most teams in the league. Do you think most teams in the league are still going to hedge hard on Luka and Kyrie's penetration, or is that floor going to open up off the gravity of Klay Thompson's name alone?
I tell you this: a lot of the lower level teams are not going to be that bold, so they're going to get some good wins easily. It's really the top tier teams where you're going to see this problem become less of a problem. When you go against the Celtics of the world, when you go against New York, when you go against 76ers, they're not going to have that issue, mostly because they have a wing defender that they don't really even need to worry about that. Like you can have OG out there, and that's immediately, you know what I'm saying? You have Paul. If you're telling me, oh man, what are we gonna do? I guess maybe we throw Paul George at him. You're good. If that's your plan, you're good. Harrison Barnes, even with the Spurs, you have a stopper. So that's my thing. So most teams don't have that luxury because they don't have a stopper like that, and they will have to worry. Because I don't care how many times Klay Thompson goes 0 for 10. He's Klay Thompson, and he can give you 52 without moving his feet.
It's also, and I'll go to you real quick. I just want to add more information to this conversation. It's also the rotation, right? It was the fact that, okay, take the big out of it. We're just talking about the 4 perimeter players. It was the fact that both of their other wings couldn't shoot. Right. So you could fully hedge because even if you get in rotation, you're fine with either one of them shooting. I'm saying now, even if you're in hedge, you don't want to because the rotation kills you now. Because if it was just Klay, you could say, okay, we'll just rotate to Klay and let the fourth guy shoot it. But they got rid of Josh Green. They got rid of Tim Hardaway. They got rid of Derrick Jones. So now they have Spencer Dinwiddie, Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, Markieff Morris. So even if we play Klay and we try to rotate, that guy that we're rotating off of is Dinwiddie or Marshall or Grimes or Morris. That's a threat. So now we can't even trust rotation. So it's not even, that's what I'm saying with Klay making the shots. He now they have the full spacing to where I don't even know if we want to get into rotation. We might have to live one-on-one. And if you live one-on-one with Luka and Kyrie, that's a 40 ball each.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
See, this is what I'll say, right? I'm not worried about Klay offensively now because the problem with the Warriors is that they were still relying on him to be the same old Klay.
Correct.
That was literally the problem. Like he was the second scorer on the team still, right? Even with
Wiggins.
What's my guy's name? Kuminga. Even with Kuminga stepping up, he had to force Steve Kerr to give him the rock. Like they still wanted to run floppy plays, off ball screens.
Okay, dialogue.
Post entry.
Yeah, right. Like they really still felt more comfortable in trying to get Klay open and Klay trying to get himself open, and he can't do that anymore. It's a wrap for that, right? Now he can literally just wait for the ball. Now, like Luka scores in a row. You leave Klay wide open.
Also, I think the way the Mavericks play, and this is what I've always said, and part of me, you can't say you feel bad for a guy that's won 4 championships, but I used to have this argument all the time, and I think I've had it with some of you in here, and y'all disagree with me. There was a point in a time where I said that an offense could be constructed around Klay, and that he had a higher skill set than he exhibited with the Warriors because of the way they played, right? I think a prime Klay could have been a leading scorer on a playoff team, and he had a lot of skills that were not utilized by the Warriors. And I think although he's not in his prime anymore, and so some of those skills I think have atrophied and also are not reliable enough for this team, there's still a subset of skills that I think Klay Thompson has that get unlocked for the first time in the kind of style that the Mavericks play. The Mavericks matchup hunt. Klay has never been on a team that matchup hunts. So if you put Klay's a whole 6'7", 220, if you put a small guard on Klay, you could get away with that against the Warriors because the small guard can navigate screens, right? What if they throw Klay down in the post on a classic on a classic vet move, right? A guy gets older and he's a good shooter. You tell me they can't utilize for 2 to 5 possessions a game if they put a small guard on Klay, send his 6'7" butt down to the post for some over the shoulder fades?
I think they'll do it more for PJ Washington than him.
No, but the fact they did it for PJ tells me that that's part of what they do, and they did that when PJ Washington had a mismatch. So I think Klay will be allowed to take some smaller guys down low on a mismatch, but also think about this with matchup hunting. What do? You also do guard to guard screens. Can you imagine a Luka Klay Thompson guard to guard pick and pop? How do you guard that?
Switch it. Hope for the best.
That's really the only answer.
Now that depends on who you put on Klay, right? Because again, you still do have PJ Washington out there. You still do have Kyrie. So that means there's probably a weak defender on Klay, which is why he might be the pick and roll for the matchup hunting, right? Most teams don't have more than 2 good wing defenders. So if they're on Kyrie and Luka, if Luka or Kyrie call Klay over to matchup hunt, that's probably a weak defender. So your choices are either to switch a weak defender onto one of those 2 guys, or you hedge it and that's a kill, or you try to jump the screen and then that's Klay Thompson slipping back for the 3 on a ghost screen that the Boston Celtics always run.
See,
we've never seen Klay Thompson in ghost screen actions.
No, and you know what? You make a good point because we actually could. The fact of the matter is that a lot of the teams, and we're going to see with the advent of Wemby how long this is going to stay. A lot of teams are still playing small ball, so you can get away with this with Klay. And like I said, and like you've agreed, a lot of teams don't have multiple defenders that are going to be able to handle this. Kyrie and Luka are 2 of the best isolation players in the game. But they're in history. But they are also fantastic facilitatives. Yes. You can't even just a pick and pop. If they were to try to experiment with that with Klay, how dangerous would that look?
That's what I'm saying.
How dangerous would that look? Or even if he's just holding his spot and you get a screen and you're able to someone crashes out and he's wide open. He opens up so much for them.
Paul, you've been trying to get in here for a minute. Go ahead.
We got to pause though, because number one, I do not think the Mavericks offense is that creative, and I don't think they will be.
You don't think Luka's that creative?
It's not creative. It's just different.
I don't think they're that different.
One different action than they are very different from the Warriors. They're very
no. Well, I'm saying they don't have that much versatility and variety in their offense. The Warriors have more than the Mavs.
I understand the point you're making, but I'm talking about the difference in style. Yes, the Warriors run a greater diversity of actions, but all their actions are still according to their motion post-entry scheme. Right? So they have more plays out of that than the Mavericks do, but they are all centered around that style of play. The Mavericks may run less types of actions, but their style of play is incredibly different. It's a drive and kick offense. It's a matchup hunting offense. And I'm just saying we've never seen Klay in that kind of offense. So it's not about the Mavericks having greater diversity of things to do. I'm saying Klay is going to be in a system where he can be used in specific ways he's never been used before.
But hold on. But you're correct in saying they are a matchup offense. I mean, matchup hunting offense. But who's doing the hunting? It's not everybody on the team, and I don't think that's going to change.
No, yeah.
So
no, but hear what I'm saying. It's still Luka and Kyrie matchup hunting, but think about how matchup hunting works. Matchup hunting is usually guard to guard, wing to wing screening to get the weaker defender on you. But when that player that is doing the screen is a threat, there's so many options out of that, right? It's different than LeBron and like Austin Reeves doing a switch where Austin Reeves is just trying to get the switch and get out of the way to go spot up, right? He's not a threat out of that pick and roll. But Klay Thompson setting a screen for a Luka Doncic or a Kyrie Irving, that's a very hard thing to guard.
But it is hard because of his shooting ability. It's not because he's going to do anything. I don't think Klay could still take people off the dribble like that.
No one's asking him to. But if they do a switch and a smaller defender gets put on Klay, you don't think he possesses the skill set to take him down low for a mid-range post-up?
I don't think they're going to even allow him to do it. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's what I'm trying to say. Right? But here's the thing, too, with Klay, which is why people aren't talking about the Mavs, is he's still food on the defensive end. That was his biggest issue. They have
enough bigs. No, but you know why? Because there's no paint help. That was the biggest issue with the Warriors. The Warriors championship teams always had a rim protector. So yes, Klay was a great one-on-one defender, but he always had backline help. That's how they got over Steph's defensive issues. There was always backline help. The Mavericks have backline help.
No, I understand that, but Klay, as a defender, if he's fooled the way he, like individually, if he still can't stay in front of anybody,
we
forgot how he looked on the Warriors.
No,
if he does that,
but him getting
that backline help is not gonna help that much.
Why not? If he gets blown by and you're and then you rotate into a big. Now I get it. Luka was getting blown by, but that's because the Boston Celtics specifically were a 5-out offense, so there was no backline. So you might be right against the Boston Celtics.
You're talking about tips with them now, though.
I know against the Boston Celtics, you're still absolutely correct. They're gonna have a problem against most teams, though, that don't have a 5-out spacing offense. You can funnel to your big.
So my question is,
that's how they got to the finals. They got to the finals because they could funnel to their big, and their defensive issues only got highlighted by the very specific offensive threat and incredibly unique offensive threat. Maybe the 76ers have the same threat, or maybe now the Knicks, you would say. Those are the only other two teams that have that kind of threat. So yes,
did they really get better then?
Yeah, they got better, but other
to your point, from them already being to the finals and losing, did they get better to be able to beat the team they lost to? Maybe not. And I would agree with that. That's a good point.
That's why nobody's talking about the Mavericks.
Yeah.
I think that's specifically why.
Well, because here's the thing.
They have a lot of potential, though.
They have potential, but here's the thing. Maybe this is presumptive to say, but the battle for the championship is taking place in the Eastern Conference Final.
What? Hold on. Calm down.
I don't like that.
Hold on.
I mean that.